I drew a line. I drew a line for you. Oh, what a thing to do. And it was all papaya? Welcome back to Motorsport 101. Callum Buckley was giving me the finger as I was recording those fire lyrics. He just doesn't understand true art. Or the idea of a snuggle.
You know, everyone listening to this show should unsubscribe to our Patreon immediately.
How dare you suggest such a thing? As you do. Welcome to episode 604 of Motorsport 101. I'm Dre Harrison, your friendly neighborhood host as ever. I'm not Chris Martin, but if I was, I would be very shy about it. Maybe. Glad you could join us for another edition of the M101 podcast, and this time we're talking about IndyCar as it hits up the streets of Toronto. We're heading down the stretch, only 5 races to go in this season, 4 now with IndyCar up and done in Toronto for another year, and well, it was Pato O'Ward's second win in a week. And just like that, he's pretty much cemented second in the championship now, barring anything crazy. And hey, maybe, just maybe, he has an outside chance of trying to pull off something for the title. Hey, Zach Brown was there after all, and the man himself said, I believe in miracles. Like McLaren being good in Formula One again. So I guess it fits. Joining me as ever, we got Mr. RJ O'Connell. How's it going, mate?
Oh, it's going great, man. It's been a blast. And, you know, as a great man once said, maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and forget how to hate.
Oh, Cam is seething, molding, throwing up in the background.
Look, no, because the Ozzy was real for that back then, and he's still real for that now.
And it is IndyCar related because remember back in Road America, what did they run? Yeah. The Black Sabbath livery for this final show. I mean, that's got
Mid-Ohio, but yes.
Look, Mid-Ohio. But like, if you're gonna go out like that, what a cool way to go out, man.
Oh yeah.
Could it be more metal than playing your farewell performance and then dying?
That's probably how he would have wanted to go out, quite frankly.
He's biting the heads off angels now. Or devils. He preferred devils.
I'd just like to think that he is now your vendor in Brutal Legend. That is now canon. You can't change my mind.
Yeah, that now fits.
May the sound system Beyond be played at maximum volume.
Second time we're nice to the people of Birmingham, England.
How dare you extend my lease for one more episode? How dare you?
Because it's a double recording. We're talking about the IndyCar Grand Prix of Toronto, which has been on the calendar for 40 years. 40 years now. It's crazy to think there were rumors that this event was going to go away.
Look, they're never going to get rid of this sod. I don't even like Toronto, and they're never going to get rid of this sodding place because this is like one of the touristy IndyCar rounds that people go out of their way to go to because it's in a nice part of Toronto. There's an actual public transport system, and it's a nice city to actually be in.
Yeah, I know. Like, parts of our community occasionally make that trek over to Toronto. Hi, Ed.
Yes, and as Kira says in the chat, because you don't have to go to the US for it. Which
yeah, it's like the best part.
Yeah.
Also, I'm here. You know, you can't win them all. Can't win them all.
The Alex Palou community is coping and seething as we speak. That for once,
fine over here.
Oh
no! A massive 3 to cut the lead to 99.
You only rolled a 12 instead of a nat 20. Whoa, God, that brother's starving.
That strategy was more like a nat 1, if we're being honest.
Well, I'll get into that. I could see why they did it. We'll get into that in a minute because it was a very strange tactical sort of race. A lot of cautions that threw up a lot of intriguing game plans and gambits. Pato O'Ward, as mentioned, eventually came out on top ahead of a surprise podium of, and I'm checking my notes here, Rinus Veekay and Kyffin Simpson?
I'm half thrilled and half disgusted with these.
Yeah, this is going to take some breaking down. Somehow, Kyle Kirkwood, who was the most dominant guy here and looked like he was going to rip the shit out of this race, somehow didn't across all of the race. Penske still sucks.
Sanitation workers we're seeing in North Carolina. They can't take that smell.
Oh boy, and all of that and much more over the next 40 minutes or so. But in the meantime, there's places you can find us all over the internet, and you can do so on our website, motorsport101.com, or on YouTube, youtube.com/motorsport101. Same /line for Facebook. We're on Twitter at motorsport_101. Our personal handles on Blue Sky, Dre Harrison, RJ O'Connell, cbuckley917.bsky.social. We are on Instagram at motorsport101pod. We are on Patreon as well, of course. And we're on TikTok as well. TikTok, M101_podcast. Don't forget the TikTok. Very important these days. We're on patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all of our content. And you can upgrade to the $10 tier to listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded, which is what Kira's doing right now. And they're already salivating over the prospect of flying out to Toronto to actually watch this race next year. Go well, etc. Right. Without further ado, we'll get into IndyCar on the streets of Toronto for the 40th anniversary.
It was tactical warfare on the streets of Toronto, Exhibition Place, right beside Toronto Stadium, as it will be officially referred to sometime next summer, as the entire field of 26, and we'll talk about why it's 26 in a bit, on an early caution. It landed with Scott McLaughlin being in the wall on lap 3 after an early stop to ditch his green Firestone alternates, continuing a trend we've seen pretty much every street race. It led to 2 distinct strategies, with Alex Palou trying to stretch his opening stint and build a lead over Pato O'Ward, who led the runners who ditched their greens early. But Alex Rossi clipped the wall just enough to shred his right rear suspension on lap 30, and then Josef Newgarden was collected in a 5-car pileup on lap 35, and that meant that Palou and Scott Dixon's strategies got hosed. Pato sent it on multiple cars to get to the front, then ran another cut to beat Rinus Veekay out in the pit battle to win his second race of the year ahead of Veekay. Overcut. Yes. Overcut.
A powerful overcut this weekend.
Powerful overcut. Veekay in second, Kyffin Simpson in third, first podium in IndyCar. And yeah, as we mentioned, Alex Palou's strategy didn't work out. He was down to 12th. Oh, what a shame. His lead is only cut to 99 points with 4 races left. And by the way, just a reminder, what are the next 2 races on the calendar?
Laguna Seca this weekend and Portland a couple of weeks after.
And remind us, is Alex Palou really good at those?
Average finish of 1.75 at Laguna Seca and a 2-time winner in Portland.
Yeah, that's going to be
pretty
tough
good.
To work with. All right, where do we want to start here on this one? Interesting race.
This really was a game of strategy. And at Toronto, everybody and their mother said it going into this race, and it happened again. A classic game of do you ditch the greens early because do you think there's going to be an early caution or not? Because we all know Toronto has got a horrible bottleneck at turn 2. Or turn 1, I should say, really. Turn 1 and 2. It's a nasty blind right-hander with a thin exit. It's very easy to go 3 wide and someone ends up in a wall. It wasn't quite that, but McLaughlin pulled out the early caution because of a bad pit stop from Penske. And, well, Pato O'Ward was the chief operator of people that had ditched their green tire after lap 2. They did it while under green rather than having to wait for a caution to come out, and then all of a sudden O'Ward's in the driver's seat. It was like a cycling race. The peloton, there was a breakaway, and the peloton was behind. Sorry, Formula E, to borrow one off you guys, but I'm actually making a coherent cycling reference. The breakaway nearly got away with it, when I talk about that in a minute, but the peloton eventually came back and Pato won a sprint finish.
And in the end, Takagacha built his lead even further over... never mind.
Day that ends in Y.
Yeah, I mean, credit where credit is due. Pato drove superbly. Every time he needed to do something, he pulled his finger out. It was an excellent strategy call from the McLaren pit wall. If you're going to start in the midfield, you might as well gamble. They did, and they came up big on this one. And again, the overcut late on ultimately won Pato the race, in my opinion, against Rinus Veekay. McLaren's pit wall were the real stars of the show. Pato made those excellent dive bombs to get to the front of the queue when he needed to, but it was an excellently executed race from McLaren, and you don't normally say that about their team in Prix, so you got to give it to them when they do get it right, and this time they absolutely did.
Yep, I would actually argue they have been making a little bit of a habit out of that this year because they've had to. Their qualifying has been very poor compared to years past, and they've had to go a little bit sideways on strategy and be really aggressive in the way that they treat their stints. And this is another example where you wouldn't have thought of them as a contender going into race day, but then making that strategy call and making the right bet regarding the caution early was able to pay off for them. As a side note, Team Penske, the fuck?
It's bad. Scott McLaughlin got sent out and the wheel fell off. That's what triggered the early caution. Again, if Penske Entertainment wanted to abuse that conflict of interest, maybe they might have gotten another car in the top 10 today.
No, that didn't happen. Again. I think I want to say I think it's the 5th time this season that there's been no Penske in the top 10, which is just unheard of for Penske.
Scott McLaughlin, what else can happen? If it is not him, it's Josef Newgarden. If it's not Josef Newgarden, it's both of them.
Hey,
like every weekend.
How many Acme cartoon anvils are going to keep dropping on these two's heads?
Hey, you know what? We have talked about how if you were to replace one person, it shouldn't be Will, it should be Joseph on merit alone. All of a sudden, Scott is creeping closer downward to Joseph's place in the points table.
I think the person who should, look, even in the worst of times, even when they were saddled with their own chassis that wasn't very good, and a Mercedes-Benz engine, which wasn't very good, and Goodyear tires, which were actively terrible. At least they had their pit crew. Even their pit crew's been shit this year.
It's as RJ quite rightly alluded to, Scott McLaughlin is only 26 points ahead of Josef Newgarden in the standings now. McLaughlin's now 13th in points. Newgarden is 16th in points with 4 to go. This is an unmitigated disaster.
Well, yeah, I mean, their Indy 500 was a dual threat. It was awful and terrible.
You know what the only thing that would make this definitively better than their last winless season in 1999, if this goes the way that I am fearing it's going with 4 races left? No driver
have a fatality, please.
Yeah, no driver on their team died.
That might be, Dre, you have your season review tagline for Team Penske. Hopefully no one died. And I'm hammering wood right now to make sure this doesn't happen. For the love of Christ. Oh my God.
We saw the TV shots of Newgarden having got out of the car. Because again, this was no fault of his own. Jacob Abel was punted into the wall on an aggressive dive bomb. It wasn't even Abel's fault either, really. He was very courteous and gave room. He was overtaken. He was punted into the wall on a wheel banger. And then as he bounces off the outside wall, he just goes over the front of Newgarden's car, and then that's the end of his day. You could see the TV shots of Newgarden out of the car. That was a man who just wanted to jump into the river behind him. He looked completely miserable.
We're not resetting the last 2 weeks of Josef Newgarden moodiness discourse. It's bad.
Yeah,
we know.
But it started off him getting out of the car, going for a run at the 500 when he was bounced from qualifying due to smoothness. We are now far removed from that. This is it. I bring it up early because, like, when's the last time you saw Team Penske not put all 4 wheels on, man?
That never happens. They're normally bulletproof. They really are. They're probably the best pit crew alongside Chip in IndyCar. And
even in the 500, dude, like, one of the defining factors of Newgarden's charge up the field before his fuel pump failure was that his pit crew was gaining him a couple spots every pit cycle.
Yeah, they were money every single time, and before the mechanical dropped him out of that race. And here in the chat's bang on. They were, because IndyCar can't help themselves. It's such a sport thing to do. They've got to show the upset wife or the upset girlfriend or the upset partner. And Ashley,
the upset Thomas for Fabio Quartararo's garage.
Oh, you're going to get those people in a dander again. But, like, the wife cam, the girlfriend cam, the wag cam, if you want to be derogatory.
The crying child.
It's a tradition that dates back to 82, and it's been going strong year after year after year, Doc.
We do not need to see Ashley Newgarden crying on the sidelines as Mans has been taken out of another race. I get it. They're trying to tell a story. You don't need to see someone in distress to tell a story. Again, have we learned nothing from Christian Eriksen's heart attack? Is all I will say in response to that. And I think it's unfortunate that sports broadcasters feel like this is the wrestling equivalent of cheap heat. I don't like it, but unfortunately it happens.
At least Logan Paul wasn't wrestling jelly roll on this race.
Don't give them ideas.
All right, so
they were too busy inviting Barstool Sports over instead, which fuck them for
all I can say is
I wish Dave Portnoy had a very pizza slice to the side of the head.
God, I wish that was the real guy and not just a guy who looked like him getting a piece of slice to the side of the head.
And here comes the pizza. But no, it's look, I need to say this for 2 seconds real quick before I move on. Like, IndyCar, you're better than this. At least I'd like to think you're better than this. I get it. For those who don't know, Fox are basically now collaborating with Barstool Sports in terms of their coverage. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they invited their Canadian fella to go up to Toronto and help promote the race. This is not against him personally, because I don't think he's done anything that's particularly problematic. However, you are working for a company that is owned by a racist, someone that has used the N-word, someone that has joked about blackface, someone that has joked about rape. He is a classic I'm uncancelable, racist piece of shit. And if you are allowing his employees to help promote your race, you are complicit in endorsing a horrible piece of shit that shouldn't be anywhere near a multi-million-pound sports journalism entity. And I use the word journalism loosely. IndyCar, you cannot parade your first Indy Next black winner last week and then go a week later and then celebrate the fact you have a Barstool employee promoting you. Do fucking better.
Not to pull the cynical card, but yeah, they can and they will, and we're powerless to stop it.
No, look, do not get me wrong. I know that this is, I'm screaming into the void here, unfortunately.
This is Fox we're talking about.
This is Fox we're talking about. 2, their followers low-key love this shit. And 3, annoyingly, Dave Portnoy was right. He is uncancelable. And that's everything that's wrong with sports journalism.
Also, Fox Sports 1 doesn't have any pundits working for them anymore.
Yeah, they fired all their people of color. Amazing. It's funny how that turns out. Emmanuel Acho's unemployed. What a shame. They can't all be winners. Anyway, yeah.
Should we talk about Andretti Global, like, low-key fumbling the bag?
How did he not win this?
The terrible, no good, very bad 26 pit crew pretty much insta-killed Colton Herta's race under the first caution. Instantaneously. Yeah. Boy, fuck you.
Catchphrase.
It's so bad. How are they so bad? How many times? How many fucking times? I'm sick of enjoying Colton Herta.
Look,
I'm sick of being a fan of this dude.
Marcus Ericsson got a top 5 finish for the first time this year. Sandwich between cars finished 4th, 5th, and 6th as an enterprise. And we are looking at this as an abject failure because it should have been more. Because if
Colton Herta took 5 seconds out of Pato O'Ward's lead on that last stint. I was watching the gap melt, and it did not matter because he was down the field for much of the race.
Ugh.
Carl Kirkwood was clearly the fastest man here this weekend. He should have dog-walked qualifying and started this race from pole. He was the only man. He set the fastest lap of qualifying. Unfortunately, it was in round 2 because he didn't get a lap off in the fast 6 round and was stuck starting from 6th place. He had a chance to get back to the front of the queue of the chasing group. Unfortunately, he was hit in the pits by Marcus Armstrong and spun out. And Marcus Armstrong had to take a drive-through penalty as punishment for that.
Earned, you'd say on that one.
Kirkwood was, to be fair, and even then, Kirkwood was still sloppy because he was given a drop-free positions penalty at the start of the race because he was lined up incorrectly. Just, why is Andretti, even when they're good, still Bush League? Like, I don't understand this. It's just so infuriating.
Even when they're fast, and they have generally been the only people to pick a fight with Ganassi on street circuits this year, they just can't execute worth a damn. Drivers, team, pit crew, name it. Like, it's they're Ferrari-esque in sloppiness.
Time to get that TWG money to work, baby.
Yeah, there's only so much a fast food sponsor can do for Carl Kirkwood sometimes, and it's a shame because again he's been bloody brilliant this season. This is the breakout year that we all thought Carl Kirkwood was due. He's still hanging on to 3rd place by 1 point now over Scott Dixon in 4th. So he's back in front of Dixon, I should say. They're going to be in a fight for the bronze medal because there's no man within like 50 points of them either side. So that's going to be a one-on-one for the bronze. Pato O'Ward, as mentioned before, is now 99 behind Alex Palou. He can't win the title this weekend at Laguna Seca, but he could certainly put himself in a position where he can at Portland, depending on how that works out, if you're half curious about the points. I mean, gentlemen, I've got to ask, because you watched this race in real time in front of a bunch of your friends. I wasn't in the Discord call when that race was airing live. Mm-hmm. Is it good that we've got a green alternate tyre that's only good for 10 laps in an 85, 90 lap race? Because
not even. They were dead in 10 laps. They were really dying after lap 6 or 7. And like it's like Pirelli 2013 soft-esque, where you get a couple good laps and then you have to baby. I mean, on the second restart that we saw, we had a couple cars in the field that were on dead greens trying to make, the start on green strategy work in the other direction, which is keep them on. And they were a genuine danger to themselves and others. They were so slow. I mean, they were 15, 20 mile per hour slower in the corners compared to people on fresh primaries. This has been a consistent problem this year. When it's hot, the green tire just dies.
It's as hot as it's ever going to be in the middle of American summer. I mean, Alex Palou, people said he was crazy for starting the race on primaries. And there was a small window where he just could have made this work. And
he was punching out seconds a lap on the green runner behind him. And then Ed Carpenter Racing struck.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at the timing tower in the first half of that race. Palou had pulled out a 25-second lead after that second caution for Christian Rasmussen being spun out. In that time, Palou would put on a 25-second lead over Pato O'Ward. He was just entering the window where he could take a stop and get out in front of Pato, and then 2 more to the end, and then Palou is in the box seat to win the race. So for people have been very harsh on Palou for saying that, because Palou openly admitted, I chose a strategy. It was my call and we got it wrong. I don't think Palou got this wrong. I just think he was unlucky with the way the caution shook out, because it was lap 30. He was right in the window where they were thinking about coming in. And then Rossi, he had what happened to somebody else in IndyCar. I can't remember who earlier this season, where he's hit the side in between 2 concrete blocks and he's ripped out the entire suspension wishbone for hitting it in exactly the wrong spot.
He put the Senna in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the wall was out just enough for him to graze it, and then that's the car down on one side, and then the entire right rear corner exploded and blew debris all over the track. And I guess it shows, much like last year in the final race when Will Power was eliminated by the seatbelt issue, that Ganassi's like, fuck it, let's just try something weird and see if it works out for us. It this is the degree of lead that they have at the front of the championship, that they can try extremely high risk, high reward, because this is a high attrition track. Cautions happen. If he got a caution at the wrong time, it was going to kill that strategy dead, and it did. But such as his lead in the championship, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All it's trying to delay the inevitable.
I reckon 3 or 4 more laps of green instead of the Rossi hit on the wall, and I think Palou's in the jackpot to win the race. I think he was just extremely lucky that we basically got back-to-back yellows. One for Rossi hitting the wall, and then the second one with the Newgarden Abel hit. That just put him in no man's land at that point, where they still had to run a 12-lap stint on the green tyre and then come in on lap 55 to go to the end. This was a very weirdly organised race in the sense of, this is one of the races that IndyCar extended. They added 5 laps to this race to make it a 90-lap race instead of an 85-lap race. But with a soft tyre that only was good for maybe 8 to 10 laps, it also meant that you're basically begging the field to run a three-stopper, because the maths doesn't add up. You could do roughly 35 laps under fully green on a full tank, but you have to run this green tyre that's going to throw you off sequence. So the whole thing, the math didn't really math on this, and even if it was cold as shit in Toronto, I'm not sure how much longer those tyres would have lasted anyway. So, look, I think they got away with it because we ended up getting an entertaining race with a lot of strategic intrigue, and it was chaos in the midfield in the back end of that straight, in the back end of that race. Power was in there, Rosenquist, Lundgaard, Palou, Malukas. It was a fucking bar fight for the top 10 towards the end of that race. But I think this speaks more to IndyCar's own insecurity about its product this year, because we talked about this in Indianapolis when they had their road course race earlier this year, about having a mandatory too soft tyre run. Did that improve the racing at all? Not really.
No,
Really?
the soft tyre is so fragile with the extra weight and the extra torque going through the rear tires here that they die so quick, you can't push on them. They're so fragile, these alternates this year. And what that creates is, again, like what we saw a little bit in 2013 with the Pirelli steel belt tires in F1. You're better off just babying them. Because if you end up as the third car in a queue, doesn't matter how much delta you have if you have fresh tires, you're not passing.
No. The problem is not the tyre deltas and what they're giving out. The problem is these cars are struggling to pass each other, and the extra weight, as Kira points out. Remind me why we bothered with the hybrid? To appease Honda and try and stop them from quitting? That's
they
it?
Still might.
And they still might quit? Who cares at this point? I mean, the hybrid has added nothing to IndyCar. Nothing.
It's my front runner for Floppy Award of the year. I wanted this to be some, man.
Well, it should have come in with a new car where it could have been integrated properly and lightened and set up in a way that it wouldn't have to fit into a car where it was never designed. Like, when the DW12 was introduced, we had yet to see a hybrid LMP1 car actually race in anger. When it was debuted, F1 cars had an 80 horsepower KERS system for 7 seconds. And some teams didn't even have that in 2012, remember, because the minnows didn't. And we've lumped so much onto this car, and we're trying to get tires, just like we've got the problem in MotoGP with tire pressures. We've now got tires that aren't really designed for this either, having to cope with extra weight and having to cope with extra power. And they just melt.
Yeah, for extra context, the hybrid cars now weigh about 100 pounds more than they did beforehand. So that's an extra 45 kilos.
That's all in the back of the car.
Speak. All in the back of the car that the Firestone was not prepared for, essentially. Because we just didn't know when they were going to actually debut these tyres in the end. It's why, they thought they were going to debut them at last year's 500, and we didn't get them until, I think it was, mid-Ohio, that same season. And yeah, Kira's in the chat sums it up best with their words, Frankenstein. That's what this feels like. It was Frankensteined in as a political decision to appease Honda. And it's added, in my opinion, nothing to IndyCar from a racing standpoint. Nothing.
It feels like it's been a subtraction, if anything. And beyond that, and it was Frankensteined in because we keep kicking the new car down the road, and we kick new engines down the road, and those are still years away.
We are still 2.5 years from a new car.
I don't believe that for a fucking second, by the way. I think it'll be longer.
They claim 2028. They still claim the summer's more. They still can't even decide what it's going to look like yet. I mean,
that's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
What hits the shelves first? The next generation IndyCar chassis or the next Elder Scrolls game?
Give me Half-Life 3.
Damn. Low-hanging fruit.
Fate of the universe on the line, brother.
My money's on Sega Dreamcast too.
It's $299.
I can't even joke about the McLaren hypercar that's coming now. And even then,
Alex Dunn's got to drive something.
I'm telling you what, when that Dunn, Siegel, Jarvis trio who turns up at Le Mans, absolute goosebumps. All right.
Alex Dunn is going to break Jack Aitken's record on crashing a car at Le Mans.
Okay.
Stop it.
Wheel it back for a bit. The other two drivers on the podium that were not Pato, who's having a very, very good season, all things considered, it's just not Alex Palou. Man, Rinus Veekay, second, the first. Am I right in saying that this is the first Dale Coyne racing podium on a road course since the 3/4 of the year of Romain Grosjean in 21?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
First podium period since Gateway 2022 with David Malukas. So first podium in 3 years for Dale Coyne. And Rinus earned it. He did a brilliant job stretching those tires out to get himself into the window where he could do it on one more stop at lap 55. And, well, I think the only reason he didn't have a real shot at winning it was because he didn't have enough fuel to go another lap and be able to match Pato on strategy, because the overcut was busted around Toronto. It was probably worth about 2 or 3 seconds, because that warm-up phase for IndyCar tires is so long at Toronto that you basically have to sit there for an entire lap struggling until you're finally up to speed. And, well, Pato was able to just overcut him just like he did to Newgarden in Iowa and come out on top. Rinus Veekay is 11th on points.
Rinus Veekay is ahead of Rinus Veekay is ahead of 2/3 of Penske.
Rinus Veekay is 11th in. Go again.
Rinus Veekay at a team, let's not forget, whose favorite driver last year was the legendary To Be Confirmed.
Yeah, they had no stability. They were cycling.
Yeah, this had all the hallmarks of a dying minnow in a racing series. The last of the kart holdouts, and yet, Champ Car, and yet, like, Rinus Veekay has been a fucking miracle worker for this team this year. You have no right to have as good an Indy 500 as he did this year.
I don't like the way that it was forced upon him to end the cycle of how good is he while he's still at ECR. I don't like the way that ended. But damn it, getting a change of scenery and what seemed like a total downgrade has actually been outstanding for him.
Rinus Veekay has had 7 top 10s this year, a 4th earlier on this season at Barber.
Without Michael Cannon.
Without Michael Cannon there at the team. He's now finished 2nd here in Toronto. He's 11th in points for a team that didn't have a car finish in the top 11 of a race last season.
Yeah.
That's how good Rinus Veekay has been this year. He has been what we thought Ferrucci was last year at Foyt. And that's about as positive a praise as I can give him in the context of what DCR is right now and how he has maximized the resources that he has had to work with.
What is that, Dre? Like 7 top 10s this year?
Yeah, 7. 7 in total.
Phenomenal.
That's over half the season so far. That's really exceptional driving from Rinus Veekay, and I hope people recognize how good that is, because the biggest problem with Rinus is because, as RJ alluded to, it was hard for him to make headlines when ECR has spent all the last half decade spinning their collective wheels, and they're doing so again this year. Their drivers are 15th and 18th in points this year. So ECR's big buyouts has actually had them regress this year. Alex Rossi's been fucking woeful on ovals, by the way. 44 points all year on oval races.
You mentioned how many?
No floor.
Sorry. How many top 10s does Rinus Veekay, the driver, have this season? 7?
Yeah.
I just counted up the squares. He has exactly 1 less than the entire Ed Carpenter Racing team.
And that's only because Christian Rasmussen has been one of the best oval drivers in IndyCar this year. Unironically. Rasmussen is 4th in points on ovals this year. He's been crazy good on ovals. Like, there's some hope out of that ginger. I'll give him that. And I'm in 2 minds on Kyffin Simpson, because I mentioned this, I joked about this with RJ before, right? Kyffin was the butt of many of my jokes last year. Yeah. I think he looked a little bit out of his depth last year.
Yeah,
we agreed between us that he probably came up from Indy next year early, and that he needed more seasoning. And I was worried about him when Chip was running 5 cars last year. They did not need to run 5 cars; it was unnecessary. They've downsized to 3 this year, and everybody's been better this year. Pallou's having a generational season. Dixon is back to something near his best, and Kyffin Simpson has again had 5 top 10s this year, and this was his first podium, and it doesn't feel like a total fluke because he's been in good form this season, especially on road and street tracks this year. He's been really, really solid.
Yeah.
And it could have been even better this year. It's like, let's not forget his 500. He was taken out through no fault of his own. Like, he after crashing, he had a really, really solid 500.
Can I not say that Kyffin Simpson's road to success could be paved by trying to one-up David Malukas as the grid's resident shit poster?
He could. He's still 33. He's still 33 points behind the shit poster, but I gotta respect the college try, if nothing else.
He looks more like the Kyffin Simpson that I got to see drive LMP2s, matched up against other professionals, don't email me, and look like this is a guy that you could put in a manufacturer prototype program tomorrow, rather than the guy that was struggling to match his reputation as a Ganassi development driver in Indy Nets most weekends. That's what he looks more like now. It's just frustrating because in that downsizing, they kept him, but cut 2 drivers that could have done better. And out of the 3, I'd say that the most talented one out of the trio is still handing out business cards, seeing if he can land something for 2026. And that's Linus Lundqvist. Marcus Armstrong has taken a hell of a step forward, which I wanted to see. I'm glad that he's doing that this week and aside. Man.
That's the only problem for all the people that are saying, yeah, Chip Ganassi was right to stick with Kyffin Simpson. The only problem is that Marcus Armstrong's having a bonkers season right now.
Yeah.
Like, people only just started realizing that Marcus Armstrong has had a streak of 6 top 10 finishes in a row going into Toronto. And by the time IndyCar's mainstream press started acknowledging that, he just happened to have one of his worst weekends of the year. Whoops. And he qualified
very
third.
IndyCar marketing. How very IndyCar marketing of them.
They were late on the wagon, and when they got there, Marcus started to jump off on Sunday, which is a shame because he qualified, he matched his career high in qualifying, qualified third, but then the team had a horrible race. Marcus, as mentioned, got passed on the road. He spun out Kirkwood in pit lane, had to take a drive-through penalty, dropped him to the midfield, and then Felix Rosenqvist tried to do his best Alex Palou 2023 broken front wing impression and failed and ended up in the wall.
The pinata of this race. It'd be easier to name the number of things he didn't hit.
Yeah, I just forgot the pace car at the end because that effectively ended the race with 2 to go when he was in the wall and took Nolan Seal with him, the poor guy. Didn't ask for that one. Somebody please save Nolan Seal. It's getting rough out here in these streets. The man's 21st in points right now. Somebody salvage that boy. It's rough. Not that one wasn't even on him. Yes, he's barely scored a point in the last 3 weekends. He's
just coming off a knock of the head at Iowa. He had a miss race too because of an undisclosed injury, which we're likely sure is, if it's not been confirmed, we're pretty certain that was a concussion, but it passed protocol. These Lundqvist services were not needed this time around. Hopefully they will be for another team sometime in the near future. Also, one quick note, Santino Ferrucci binned it in warm-up. Well, it's okay. I don't generally like seeing drivers get hurt, but he didn't start the race, and suddenly Townsend Bell has a lot less to talk about.
It's amazing. It was an incredibly precise crash in that he kept all the bodywork intact, yet broke all 4 corners of the car.
Incredible. Like, that was a warm-up session that because it was on a wet track, Chip Ganassi didn't even bother running because they were like, we know it's going to dry up for the race. Why are we bothering? We're wasting our time here.
They know the saying. Nothing good ever comes from a warm-up session.
Nope.
Or something good if you're a massive Santino hater.
Indeed. Also, shout out to Canada, 8th place, best finish for Prima. That Canada needed a result so bad.
He's finally above Stingray Robb on the points table. He should not be below him.
Absolutely not. Happy for him. Just a shame his season's been so wretched. Because even though Prima's been cheats, generally speaking, I expected more from Callum Ilott this year. He's got enough experience where he should know better.
Yeah, I mean he's been getting smoked pretty consistently by Schwartzman week in and week out. It's been honestly this debut season for Prima is going to be known for one really, really great day in qualifying and not a whole lot else.
Said it in the season preview. It's all about first year's going to be tough. What do you do to build on that to avoid becoming new Carlin?
Yeah, and okay, let's put it to you this way. I said to them my target would be get a car in the leader's circle in inverted commas, even though they're not eligible for it, just to say, hey, we would have been in the top 22. They're 10 points outside that right now, behind Louis Foster's RLL, who's on the cut line at 159. Shortman's on 149. Yeah, the cars below the cut line right now in the leader circle playoff. The 77 Joseph Stingray Rob, the number 30 of Devlin D. Francesco, and the 51 of Jacob Abel, who, my God, that boy's struggling. Oh, it
Could be worse.
hurts me.
Stingray Rob wore a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey after the month of April, but not until the clock resets in October. And you knew that was going to set him up for disappointment.
He wishes he got that to Game 7.
IndyCar is back this weekend at Laguna Seca, WeatherTech Raceway, whatever you want to frigging call it. Yeah, put all your chips on Alex Palou. Yes, that one.
Great.
Alex Palou, as mentioned.
Question. What are Alex's odds to win that race?
Good question. Let me have a quick look. I'll cut this. I'll cut the time out in post production. IndyCar GP of Laguna Seca odds. Pointspreads.com says to me that Alex Palou is 3-1 to win that race, which for an IndyCar race is alarmingly low. Woof. Have fun with that one. Boy, oh boy. Should be lower than that, quite frankly. But yeah, like I said, IndyCar at Laguna Seca this weekend. Alex Palou's average finish at that track, 1.75. Good luck, boys. That's going to be a mountain to climb because Palou loves him some Laguna Seca. We'll see how that plays out on next week's show alongside our Formula One review of the Belgian Grand Prix. Who doesn't love a bit of Spa, even if it's a sprint weekend? What can you do? They can't all be winners. We'll see how that goes. Until next time, I've been Dre Harrison. They've been Cameron Buckley and RJ O'Connell. Until next time, thank you very much for listening. Sayonara.
Later, y'all.
I demand the return of that damn Spaniard.